When the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles discovered their arch-nemesis was responsible for their creation, they couldn't help but consider him their father. But of course, the Turtles already had a real father who wasn't fond of sharing the title with an egomaniac alchemist, and this triggered a rivalry between the two father figures. In today's video, I will explore the redemption arc of Baron Draxum, and how, against his own instincts, he found his place within the Hamato clan. Baron Draxum was centuries old when he discovered a prophecy warning about the destruction of the Yokai. Considering how the humans had already pushed the Yokai underground into the hidden city, he deduced that they would also be the ones responsible for this apocalypse. He presented his concerns to the Council of Heads of the Hidden City, but they had no reason to believe Draxum's claims. This didn't sit well with the Baron, who swore to do whatever it took to stop the destruction of his kind. Concerned about the consequences of his actions, the Council sent Agent 64 to keep an eye on him. Draxum started experimenting with creating warrior beasts that could protect the Yokai from the humans. One day, he sent his gargoyles, Hugin and Munin, to the Battle Nexus to capture the retired champion Lujitsu. If you watch my video about Splinter, you know that Lujitsu was Hamato Yoshi's stage name. Yoshi, along with his pet rat, agreed to go with the gargoyles as long as he didn't have to fight ever again. But things took a dark twist when he discovered that Draxum wanted to use his DNA to experiment with some baby turtles. Disgusted with the idea of enabling more violence, Yoshi freed himself and fought against the Baron. During this battle, the ooze machine broke down, bathing him while he was trying to save 4 turtles from the ongoing experiment. While freeing all the other creatures from the lab, he was bitten by his pet rat and later mutated into Splinter. Because of the escape and the fight, Draxum's lab ended up being destroyed. Assuming that Lou and the turtles had perished in the incident, the Baron had no other option but to start from scratch again. He spent the following 13 years working on his ooze. Once he refined the mutagen, he started using mosquitoes as carriers of the ooze. These bugs would be called ooze-skeetos. Agent 64 tried to stop him by stealing a vial of ooze, which he needed to finish his experiment. But a couple of mercenaries working for him recovered him. Fortunately for Agent 64, while on the surface, he crossed paths with April and the Turtles, who were curious enough to follow them into the hidden city. Having lost their weapons, the Turtles and April stole some mystic weapons from Draxum's armory. They started a fight to rescue Agent 64, which resulted in the lab getting destroyed again. But this didn't end well for the Turtles, as the explosion freed the ooze-skeetos, who escaped to the surface, mutating unsuspecting humans. Agent 64 saved the Mad Dogs and April with his teleportation powers, and he was then named Mayhem by April, who took him as her pet. Nevertheless, the event was groundbreaking for Baron Draxum, as he now knew his turtle warriors had survived the incident in the lab 13 years ago. However, he needed to see if they were truly going to be the saviors of yokai kind as he envisioned, and he sent a mutant, Man-Bun, to confront them. This test wasn't good enough, so he anonymously funded Warren Stone to pit the turtles against Hypnopotamus, Man-Bun, Meat Sweats, and Alberto. This plan still wasn't satisfying enough, and Draxum decided to test the turtles himself. But Draxum's invention, the ooze-skeetos, could also be used for the wrong reasons, not just saving yokai kind. Big Mama tried to get all of them to create new warriors for her battle nexus. After learning about this, Draxum attacked Big Mama and freed the ooze-skeetos. However, it became pretty clear then that the turtles would interfere with him again, and he needed to eliminate them. It was during this fight that Draxum revealed that the turtles were created by him. This was a tough fact to swallow for the turtles, who were now fighting against their creator. He tried assembling an evil league of mutants to put an end to the turtles, but the ensuing fight only proved his experiment was absolutely successful. The 4 brothers truly shared the same DNA as Lujitsu. This confused the turtles even more, who, so far, didn't know Splinter and Lou were the same. Seeing how they shared an enemy, the Foot Clan kidnapped Draxum and convinced him to search for all the missing pieces of the Kuroi Yoroi. Knowing the immense power this armor could provide, Draxum abandoned his plan of creating warriors and started gathering the pieces so that he could use the armor to destroy humanity and save the Yokai. The Dark Armor was a mystic armor that swallowed the soul of Oroku Saki 500 years ago. After he was defeated by his daughter and the Hamato clan, his armor was scattered around the globe. It was the Hamato clan's job to prevent those pieces from falling into the hands of the Foot clan. If all the pieces were ever reunited, they would free the Shredder, and nothing could save them from it. While gathering all the pieces, Draxum discovered that Lu also survived the explosion, and the Turtles finally found out the identity of their father. However, the Foot clan was only taking advantage of the Baron. They knew that the armor would need a being with strong mystic energy to power it up once assembled. They made Draxum believe he was under control, even after taking over the Foot clan. When the armor was complete, Baron Draxum put it on, and to the Foot clan's surprise, things didn't go as expected. Draxum was still in total control of the Dark Armor. The Turtles heard about this and thought there was a flaw in the armor they could exploit. They quickly realized that one of the pieces was a teapot they broke when they were kids, and they patched up with an action figure of Jupiter Jim. Once they removed the figure, the armor finally healed itself, absorbed Draxum's life force, and spit him out in a weakened state. With the Dark Armor recharged, the Shredder was finally back. Well, almost, but I'll come back to that later. The Turtles asked Big Mama to help them contain the Shredder, something she agreed to do, only to keep him as her enforcer with the help of a mystic controller. Baron Draxum's attempt at destroying humanity didn't go unnoticed. The Council of Heads found him guilty of crimes against the Yokai, unlawful genetic manipulation, unleashing dark mystic forces, and damaging the cloak of secrecy that kept the Yokai safe for eons. Draxum was now a fugitive, betrayed, wronged, and living on the streets. One day, Mikey found him in this state, and after feeling sorry for his creator, he helped him rent a place above April's apartment. His reasoning was that since he created them, he was also family, and took on the opportunity to reform him. Mikey and Raph took him to Alberto Land to show him how humans really were. Hopefully, this would erase all his misconceptions about humans. But he was still a fugitive, and the council sent mercenaries to capture him. This resulted in an incident with a Ferris wheel. While the Turtles took care of the mercenaries, Draxum risked his life to save a mother and her son from dying. During this heroic act, his mask fell off and broke, revealing his real face for the first time. This was a point of no return for Draxum. With his mask destroyed, he was no longer the old Baron. The Turtles found him a job at April's high school as a cafeteria worker, and from that moment on, he was nicknamed Barry. But bad habits are hard to drop. Barry kept an Uskito that he was planning to use on one of April's classmates. One day, this Uskito escaped and mutated the mystery meat from the cafeteria into a mutant April nicknamed Sloppy Joseph. April and Mikey got mad at him for risking his new life by continuing to use his mystic powers. Sloppy Joseph increased in size every time it ate anything, and Draxum eventually dealt with the situation without using his mystic powers. The experience ruined Barry's chances at receiving an award, but at least he gained a sense of belonging to a community of lunch persons. He also kept Sloppy Joseph as a pet/assistant, on a delicate diet. For Mikey, helping Draxum find his place with humanity wasn't enough. He had high hopes of integrating him with his family, but unfortunately, he and Splinter still couldn't see eye to eye. Still, Mikey had to try reconciling the two. On one occasion, when they all went to the Hidden City as a family, Mikey brought Barry along with a cloaking device that made him look like a plushie toy. Hating Barry, Splinter took advantage of a moment of distraction to let a police officer take the toy away as a gift for his daughter. After noticing Mikey's disappointment, Splinter helped him rescue Barry from the policeman's house. Draxum's cover was blown during their escape, and the police intensified the search for Barry. It was while escaping the police that the two finally saw things from Mikey's perspective. Splinter ended up thanking Draxum for freeing him from the Battle Nexus and giving him his sons. Barry also apologized for trying to turn Splinter into a weapon as well. and the two finally put their issues aside. But would this new peace survive one of the most stressful conflicts of their lives? I'm talking, of course, about the final confrontation with Big Mama, when she put the population of New York inside a mystical orb so that the turtles could fight in a special battle nexus taking place in the streets of New York. Draxum managed to escape with Splinter, April, and the Foot Recruit, taking advantage of a small crack inside the orb. Unfortunately, on his return, he discovered that Big Mama was now controlling the Shredder. The Foot Recruit took control of the mystical controller and started using Shredder for the benefit of the Foot Clan. Barry knew that Splinter's father taught him how to defeat the Shredder, a crucial lesson that Yoshi never paid attention to, as he didn't believe any of it was real. To recover these lost memories, he performed a mystic ritual that allowed the turtles to travel through his memories. Upon returning from Splinter's memories, Raphael revealed that the weapon to destroy Shredder was trapped in the Twilight Realm. Barry opened a gate to this realm, and the turtles recovered the secret weapon. But things were not as they thought they were. The weapon was the Shredder's daughter, Karai, and by taking her away from the Twilight Realm, they had accidentally freed the Shredder, who was now free of the recruit's control and ready to end civilization. This also revealed that Shredder, Karai, Splinter, and the turtles were all part of the same family. But the sweet moment was interrupted by the Shredder, who wanted to kill Karai, and with her, the only chance the Hamato clan had to put him away again. Giving the turtles a chance to escape, Splinter and Draxum stayed behind to fight the Shredder. Shredder killed Karai and tried to absorb her Hamato essence, but there wasn't much left for him to use. It was then that he found out Splinter was a Hamato, and he could absorb his essence to become stronger and unbeatable. However, to do this, he would need a substance known as Empyrean, the basis for the ooze. Draxum then offered the Shredder to take him to the ooze in his lab in exchange for his freedom. This betrayal put Barry again on Splinter's hit list. However, Draxum revealed his true face to the Shredder when they reached his old lab. He finally understood that Shredder was the menace the prophecy was warning him about, and he tried to take him down. This battle wasn't very effective, and the Shredder captured Barry and forced him to take him to the real source of the Empyrean, the Crying Titan. With the Empyrean, Shredder was ready to take Yoshi's essence, but that was when Splinter finally convinced Cassandra Jones, the Foot Recruit, to do the right thing, and she helped Yoshi escape with the help of the rest of the Hamato clan. Barry joined forces with the rest of the Hamato clan, and using the Hamato Ninpo, they destroyed the armor and freed Oroku Saki's soul. With the city safe again, Barry freed all the humans trapped inside the Mystic Orb, and things returned to normal. It's unclear what happened with Baron Draxum after this. However, it was implied in a future timeline that he remained close to the Turtles and Splinter, probably as a father figure. In fact, Draxum was present in the moment of Splinter's final demise, a story worth revisiting some other day, as it ended with Splinter revealing that the Turtles had a brother and a sister out there. If that last bit sounded surprising, that's because it was part of the plots that the show never had the time to fully flesh out, given that the lifespan of the show was cut in half. The show was going to last 3 seasons, and the second one would have included some other interesting moments for Baron Draxum. In Goyles Just Want to Have Fun, Barry would have tried to pretend in front of the gargoyles that he was still the strong villain they once knew. In Rampage and Raph, Barry would have tried to return Raph to his normal size after misusing his mystic powers. This would have resulted in Raph getting separated from his mystic projection. The separate Raph would have become a kaiju who they would have needed to stop. Finally, in the episode Gone Goat, Draxum would have walked out after a fight with the Hamatos and would have ended up getting kidnapped by the Foot Clan. During their rescue mission, the Turtles and Splinter would have had to resolve their issues relating to him. Some of these plots were eventually used or remixed into the last few episodes. Nevertheless, Baron Draxum was an interesting concept for a Turtles villain. Among his powers was chlorokinesis, the ability to control vines and plants. He also demonstrated other abilities like telekinesis and mystical portals. The character was played by John Cena in the first season, and later replaced by Roger Craig Smith in the second season. Cena went on to play Rocksteady in Mutant Mayhem, while Roger, who also voiced the Pulverizer in the 2012 series, recently played Raphael in the Splintered Fate video game. But was Baron Draxum really a villain? Well, he was an antagonist, but his motivations were rooted in protecting yokai kind. According to Andy Siriano, one of the creators of the show, Draxum was designed to hold that role temporarily, so the Shredder's reveal could be saved for later. This gave the series room to build tension, while also introducing a variety of new mutant characters, something that helped Rise of the TMNT stand apart from previous adaptations. For me, Baron Draxum was a menacing yet entertaining character. He had compelling reasons to be an antagonist, a quest he had to put aside after being used by the Foot Clan and given a second chance by the Turtles. Ironically, the very act of creating the Turtles and mutating Splinter, initially to serve his goals, ended up being the key to saving yokai kind. In doing so, he not only redeemed himself, but gave Yoshi a chance at his own redemption as Splinter. Interesting, isn't it? What are your thoughts on Baron Draxum? Would you like to see him getting reintroduced in another adaptation? Or do you think he already got the most perfect arc he could get? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the sewers.